Weather Scope.
Severe thunderstorms threaten several areas of the country tonight. Hi, I'm Christina Abernathy. Thanks for joining us. This round of stormy weather stretches across the southern U.S. and into the northeast. And for the latest, we go to Mike Seidel in the Forecast Center.
And Christina, the squall line is now bearing down on the New York City area. You've already seen high winds in the suburbs of New Jersey, and it looks like the worst of the wind and the possible wind damage will be from New York City north, especially into Westchester County, also into southeastern Connecticut, around Stamford, Bridgeport, up towards Danbury and Waterbury. We'll be following those storms over the next few hours. Let's go to our maps, and then we'll get you right into the Doppler radar out of New York City. And you can see there is a lot of red on the map tonight, including the Dallas-Fort Worth area. We'll update you on your situation there, as flash flooding is a possibility with heavy rains continuing. But along and ahead of our cold front, we have seen some very rough weather this evening. We have had just hundreds, literally hundreds of reports of wind damage, trees down over power lines in eastern Pennsylvania, northeastern Pennsylvania, back through the central part of the state. Now you're out of the woods, but we still have a watch for the New York City area until 1 o'clock. And we've heard from the local weather service offices that this watch has now been canceled for Sutherland County in New York, also northeastern PA, and also that area just north of Philadelphia. You're certainly looking much, much better. Now let's go to that Doppler radar image out of the New York City area, and I can show you what's going on. You can see that squall line now moving through lower portions of New York State into Westchester and Putnam County. You're also seeing storms into the western suburbs of New Jersey, and a lot of rainfall now coming down. And watch out, these storms have produced wind gusts to 70 to 75 miles an hour, and these warnings continue in Bergen County and Rockland County and Westchester County, the counties just north of New York City, and likely we'll see warnings coming out in a matter of moments for Fairfield County and New Haven County in Connecticut as these storms race off to the east at 50 miles an hour. Let's take a look now at the situation as far as the rest of the storms goes. We expand our view out. You can see that line continuing to move towards the New York City area. And the thing we've been mentioning this evening, if you look closely right here, approaching Westchester and Rockland County, right in this area, see how the line kind of bows out? That's what we call a bow echo in meteorology, and that's where you have the strongest winds. And again, expect wind gusts to near hurricane force, and trees have come down on power lines. We've had a lot of reports of damage back in this area, and likely we'll see additional reports. Again, warnings there, and also in Dutchess County, we've got a warning till 11 o'clock tonight, 11:10. And again, these storms will be moving towards the Hartford area in the next few hours, as we're really seeing some really bad weather in this part of the country. We've also had some heavy weather in parts of West Virginia this evening, but your watch has now ended. The big story, though, will be these storms continuing to move off to the east at some 40 to 50 miles an hour through parts of New Jersey and also into Connecticut over the next couple of hours. We'll keep you posted. Meanwhile, joining us on the phone from the heart of New York City, from Times Square, is a reporter for WLIB Radio, Eric Williams. Eric, can you fill us in on what the situation is right now as far as that line of storms moving towards your area?
Well, just a few moments ago, Mike, the wind here has picked up rather significantly. Of course, it's a regular weekday night here in Midtown Manhattan. Lots of people out on the street, but some people are beginning to scurry about right now. Papers are being blown all over the place. It has been a really hot and humid day for the most part here in the Big Apple. But right now, I guess many people like myself ended up purchasing umbrellas in anticipation of what is been deemed a major storm.
That's right, Eric. In fact, that heat today, those temperatures in the mid-80s and all that humidity, actually a couple of the reasons why we're seeing those storms developing, and they're racing your way. And you've probably, what you've just seen or felt is the gust front. That is the initial burst of cooler air right in front of those storms, and within a matter of moments, the heavens should unleash some pretty heavy rain there.
We haven't heard any thunder as of yet, or seen any lightning, but certainly just in the last few moments that I've been on the line here, it has the wind certainly has kicked up significantly. I'm standing on the corner of 46th Street and Broadway, and I have to say that people are beginning to scurry about rather quickly. So this storm will probably actually hit the ground here any moment.
Okay, Eric Williams, thanks for the update. Eric Williams from Times Square from WLIB Radio, right there in the heart of Manhattan. Again, the squall line now moving into Manhattan. Those of you, though, up in the Bronx and up into Queens, and especially in Westchester, Rockland, Putnam counties, and eventually into Fairfield County in Connecticut, look out. These storms have produced hurricane-force wind gusts and plenty of damage as they've moved on through Pennsylvania and now into Jersey, New York, and Connecticut. We'll keep you posted on all the severe weather around New York City. Now with the rest of the weather and your forecast for tomorrow, let's go back to Christina Abernathy.
Thanks a lot, Mike. Conditions are changing over much of the country. We're talking about warmer temperatures across the east and a big cool down for the west. The cool down did not begin today in Sacramento. Heat rose off the pavement as temperatures soared to near 100 degrees. Shade trees seem to be the popular lunchtime spot. A trough building across the west will help temperatures cool down. By Wednesday, we should be into the mid-80s. From west to east, hot was also the story of the day in Washington, D.C. Temperatures climbed into the mid-90s there, the result of hot air being compressed ahead of the front. The heat didn't seem to slow folks down, though. As the front comes through, temperatures will return to a more seasonable range. Well, let's take a look at why it's so hot across the eastern U.S. on Monday, a look at what all is involved. And what we've seen is, of course, a front that's helping to produce the severe weather, but we also have an area of high pressure in the Atlantic. The winds around that in a clockwise fashion, and as that wind downslopes off the Appalachians to the east of the Appalachians, what we see is that air sinking, compressing, warming, plus we had a great deal of sunshine. Combine those two conditions and we have plenty of warmth here, highs well into the 90s for the Carolinas and on into Virginia, including the Washington, D.C. area. As a matter of fact, we had record-breaking warmth there today. Let's take a look at those records. National Airport 96 and Dulles 92, both tying records. Here are the temperatures right now, 71 in New York, 75 as we head towards Charleston, 73 in Atlanta, and the warmth continues in the west, 92 in Phoenix. You've had some soggy conditions here, scattered showers and storms, as well as in the southeastern U.S. along the Gulf Coast, big storms. Southern Mississippi and Alabama, also some soggy conditions for folks in Florida around Ocala and Daytona Beach right now. And then as we head northward and westward, we also have rain and storms around the Mobile area. These certainly packing a punch here around Mobile, where you see the yellows and the reds. That's where some of the worst of.
Right now on the Weather Channel, your local forecast.
Severe thunderstorms threaten a large part of the country tonight. Good evening, I'm Dave Schwartz. This round of stormy weather stretches across the southern U.S. and into the Northeast. For the latest, we go to Mike Seidel in the Forecast Center.
And Dave, severe thunderstorms continue to rake through parts of New York, New Jersey, and Connecticut at this hour. This line has had a history of producing strong winds, wind damage, and now we're getting our first reports of wind damage in western New Jersey out in Sussex County. We've had trees down on houses in several areas at Freedom and also at Stillwater. And this is the kind of weather we expect to continue now into eastern Connecticut. Let's go to the watch, which is up until 1 o'clock tonight for a good deal of the New York City area up into Connecticut, including Hartford and the lower Hudson Valley. And now let's go to that Doppler radar. And this picture is just a few minutes old. And look at the red on there. The red shading indicates those stronger storms. And there we go. And you can see the heavy rains now moving right through Fairfield County in Connecticut. Very dangerous weather. Look out around New Canaan, Waterbury, Bridgeport. These storms, again, have produced hurricane-force wind gusts. And anytime you see an area where they tend to be bowing out, that's where you would have the strongest winds. Not a real accentuated bow at this point, but very dangerous storms. And now they're crossing over towards Oyster Bay on the North Shore of Long Island through Long Island Sound. And we do have warnings out for the following counties in Connecticut: Fairfield, New Haven, and Litchfield up into the northwest corner of the state. And those of you in Nassau County, watch out. It's going to be a rough night, at least for a while, going out the Sunken Meadow or the Northern State Parkway, Plainview, Comac, Great Neck. Any of these North Shore communities will certainly bear the brunt of the highest winds, but all of you are going to get heavy rainfalls as this moves out over the Sound. Also up into the Litchfield Hills, very strong winds. These storms have moved out of the Rockland, Westchester, and Putnam County areas of New York State, the lower Hudson Valley, into extreme western Connecticut, and they are moving at 50 miles an hour. 50 miles an hour. This is a very quick motion. And as I mentioned earlier, you can roughly take 1.5 times the motion, the forward motion of the storms, and approximate what kind of wind gusts you can expect. And that's how we're getting around 75, but we're also getting that verified in numerous locations out through western New Jersey, out through the Great Gorge area, and especially across eastern Pennsylvania. So again, watch out all the way from Newark across the New York City area, but especially North Shore Long Island into Fairfield County and also into the New Haven area, New Haven County area. That would include those of you in Wallingford, also up to Southington, New Britain, and eventually Hartford. Look out. We also have this interesting cell here up north and west of Hartford, and that has produced a lot of heavy rains and a lot of gusty winds. That's in Tolling County, and that will continue moving off to the northeast. Look out for that, because that's an individual cell, and that could produce a tornado. Now, let's get back to the wider view and show you what's going on back to the south and west. Those of you in D.C. and also those of you in Baltimore going through a rather warm, muggy night. Temperatures are still running around 80, but we do have some relief coming in as far as showers and thunderstorms go, and you can see the rain out to your west. But the storms, which were severe earlier in West Virginia and western Pennsylvania, have now weakened. So what you'll get basically in D.C. in Baltimore, some heavy rainfalls, but we do not expect the severity. Certainly nothing like we're seeing up here in the northeast quarter as those storms continue to move off to the east at 50 miles an hour. Let's kind of move on now, and we're going to go into Texas. We want to show you what's going on in the Dallas area, because you too have had problems there, not so much with severe weather, but plenty of heavy rainfall. Right now in Kaufman County and just south of the Dallas area, tremendous amounts of rainfall continuing to come down. Those of you in Mesquite have been pounded with heavy rains, but right now in Kaufman, over towards Ennis, down I-45, very strong thunderstorms. And you can see they're not moving very quickly. Nothing like we saw just a moment ago in the New York City area. But keep in mind, these storms will be gradually moving out towards Van Zandt County and the Tyler area. And as we move into the southern part of the state, strong storms now a pretty good line from the Rio Grande, Del Rio, north and west of San Antonio. You're getting hit pretty hard in Austin, and these two are drifting very slowly off to the south and east. This whole area is under a flash flood watch tonight. Once again, let's look quickly back here at the New York City radar. We've got this very strong line now moving into western Connecticut, and we want to go over the warnings once more. Those of you in Nassau County, out on the island, also in Connecticut, Fairfield County, New Haven County, and also in Litchfield County. Warnings continue, some of these until 11:45 tonight. Dangerous weather continues in the tri-state area. We'll keep you posted with all the warnings and the Weather Service radars. Now with more of the current weather and your forecast, find out if it gets better for the morning commute in New York. Let's go back to Dave Schwartz.
Thanks, Mike. It will get better for the morning commute. Conditions are changing rather rapidly for many of us across the country. In the west, it's hot, but it'll cool down just a little. Just not today. The cool down certainly didn't begin in Sacramento. Heat rose off the pavement as the temperature soared into the upper 90s today. Shade trees, or beneath them, seem to be a popular lunchtime spot. The trough building across the west will help temperatures cool down by Wednesday. We'll be back in the 80s. Meanwhile, on the East Coast, it was simmering, sizzling, hot stuff. Mid to upper 90s in Washington, D.C. Boy, oh boy, after a chilly spring, the ice cream vendor is out and the kids are just running after him, too. Sprinklers are on. And out here at many of the historic sites, folks, we're seeking the shade today. 96 degrees. A hot Monday here in Washington, D.C. and across the mid-Atlantic coast, as a matter of fact, because high pressure was sitting offshore. Here's the storm, the frontal boundary that's heading through Pennsylvania, raising a ruckus tonight. Well, the flow around high pressure is a clockwise one, and it was a west-southwest one. Now, what does that mean? Well, in this case, it means that the air is coming down from the Appalachians, or downsloping. As that air sinks, it warms. Plus, you add a nice middle May sun, and we were way up there today. Record high today in Washington, D.C. At National Airport, we tied at 96. At Dulles, west of town in Northern Virginia, 92 degrees. It was clear. Now showers are beginning to develop, actually, along the southern edge of the line that is moving through North Jersey, New York City, and into western Connecticut. Some showers back toward Philadelphia, Baltimore, and Washington, with more yet to come. The drier air is eroding away here in the Carolinas. You were in the upper 80s today in Charlotte, in the middle 80s here in Atlanta, now down to 73 degrees. But some of the warmest weather in the country, except here in Phoenix and in Las Vegas, and a couple of spotty 80s in Boise and Medford. Washington, D.C. at 81 degrees.
Left of it, and it moved through Allentown. Let's go a little wider now on action radar, and we'll see the system there. There we go. And we'll set that in motion, and you'll see exactly what happened to this line of thunderstorms. There is a pretty good line moving in our direction, moving in our direction. Most of it just skids by to the north. What stayed to the south was very, very minor indeed. Maybe a shower, maybe a little rumble in some areas. But all in all, as we continue to track it on action radar, see the movement of the system. You never really know with those systems what they're going to do. They have a mind of their own. There's cooler air behind that. We do know that.
Severe thunderstorms threatened a large part of the eastern half of the United States this past couple of days. Good evening, I'm Dave Schwartz. Now, tonight's round of stormy weather stretches from the mid-Atlantic coast back into Texas. For the latest, we go to Mike Seidel in the Forecast Center.
And the real threat tonight, Dave, has been in the tri-state area over the past couple of hours. A squall line which has been moving through Pennsylvania this evening. Numerous reports of wind damage, wind gusts to 75 to 80 miles an hour. Now that line continues to move right on through Long Island, the Sound, and also through Connecticut. Let's check in on the watch area. This is the only watch left in the country until 1 a.m., and it continues to be chopped back from the west. Once the storms move on through that line of storms, you're in much better shape. Some residual rain, but for the most part, you're out of the woods as far as severe weather goes. But Connecticut right now, still warnings continue. Let's go to our latest Doppler radar image, and we'll show you the loop out of the Brookhaven Doppler out on Long Island, and you can see what I'm talking about. A very dangerous line of storms continuing to move towards the Hartford area. Watch out there, and you can see that line, and this is the area where we're really concerned with strong winds right here, and that would be New Haven County. You're under a warning till 11:45. Also in the Litchfield area and Nassau County in Long Island, you are also under a warning all until 11:45 tonight. We've had numerous reports of hurricane-force wind gusts, so keep an eye out around New Haven and Middletown, and eventually over towards extreme eastern Connecticut, New London, Norwich, and up towards the Stores area and Putnam. Eventually you'll get some more rainfall. Right now we've got some pretty heavy weather just to the north of Putnam, up in the extreme northeastern part of Connecticut. On the island, strong winds and heavy rainfalls continuing to race on through across Long Island Sound. You've seen heavy rains out at Oyster Bay, Bayville, and the Glen Cove area. Be on the lookout now farther out on the island around St. James. Also the Stony Brook area. These storms are coming in from the north and west. You'll see the lightning. And again, these are moving east and southeast at 50 miles an hour. Very heavy rainfalls now moving from Nassau County into I was going to say Sussex County. I meant Suffolk County. Out in Sussex County, northwest Jersey, we've had a lot of reports of trees down due to the very strong winds. And you can see in the New York City area, it's more of a fragmented line. So as far as winds, probably not as strong as we would see, especially concerned with this area again, this Bow Echo now moving through New Haven County in Connecticut. Now, what about the possibility of additional problems as we get into the Boston-Providence area? Well, let's show you what's going on as far as temperatures go, and that will kind of set the stage for what we're seeing as far as going downstream as the storms move off to the east towards the Boston-Providence area. And what we've got going for you is a lot of cool air coming in off the chilly waters of the Atlantic. You can see the temperature in Boston, 47. In Providence right now, your temperature's in the low 50s, so there's definitely a frontal boundary in here. And the thinking is right now is that squall line continues to move off to the east and runs into this cooler air. That is a more stable environment. These storms should weaken. At least that would be the best forecast right now. So right now we would suspect that these storms would weaken before they really cause any problems in the Boston area, Providence, and out towards Narragansett Bay. That certainly bears watching, but right now our concern continues in parts of Connecticut and in Nassau and Suffolk County out on Long Island. Extending our view, rains heading towards the Baltimore area on the north side of town up towards Philadelphia. You're getting some showers, maybe a brief gust of wind, but nothing as serious as your neighbors have seen off to the north and east. More rains coming in through the Shenandoah Valley in the next couple of hours. Watch out around Harrisonburg and Charlottesville, and this rain will help cool you down. Temperatures in this area today were in the mid to the upper 90s. The first summertime weather pattern we've seen. It's short-lived. But again, it's that heat and humidity which gave rise to the storms. More storms tonight, raking Nashville, moving